All right, Mr. Cannon, back again. Another episode. You getting tired of it yet?
I'm not tired of it.
No.
No. I'm a little wary of one of the things we're going to discuss probably right away, though.
Okay. I feel like it has something to do with our meetup game from last night.
It does.
Oh, yeah, because I kind of gave you the salami heads up. Last night we had our meetup game. It was a success. It was fun. We had 16 entries, unique entries, and then a bunch of rebuys in there.
And that's in the tournament.
Then we had a full ring game going as well. It was a fun time, yeah. And Wesley and I, so we had 2 tables in the tournament, and Wes and I ended up getting heads up.
Yeah, I had said
which seems suspicious, right?
Yeah, I'm like, if we go 1-2, people are going to think it's rigged. But I hope it happens.
Clubs did make us super users, but I probably shouldn't announce that.
Just to be clear, we're kidding about that.
Yes, that is a joke. But and
you know, on the bright side, I did bust you once.
So
you were in 2 bullets.
I literally tried to give Wes this tournament immediately. Just like first couple hands, it's like a king queen X flop. And he triple barrels even when the flush hits. He triple barrel jams, and I just call off a second pair on a 3 flush.
I said king jack, but I knew it was pretty much
you know it's good against you. Well, I was trying to help you out because I knew that you were going to need those extra chips when it came down to heads up versus me.
Oh my god, this is honestly. I would have rather just not cash the tournament if it meant you didn't win.
Than losing.
Like getting second place is all, most of the time I love second place in the tournament. But God, when it's just heads up to you.
Yeah, it felt really good.
As public as that is, our meetup game. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, I think this was the expectation. So good game, good game to the rest of the players. There was one other thing I was going to say about that. What was it? I slow rolled Alan Baker from our Discord. Sorry about that, Alan. We were 3-handed and. Let's see. I think I opened on the button, right? I think I was the button.
Yeah. He was big blind.
So I opened pocket aces on the button. Wes folds. Al makes it 3 big. So I make it 2 big blinds. He makes it 3 from the big blind, and he announces, "I wanted to raise it more, but his time bank was short or something like that."
Yeah. Which I believe.
Yeah. But he only had 16?
I think it was 14.
14 bigs behind, right? And I had pocket aces, and he told me he wanted to make it more. So I said, well, let's give him the opportunity. And we raised to 4 big blinds. So I opened to 2. He makes it 3. I make it 4.
Just stellar poker here.
And then he goes all in. And then I full time bank and act like I have a huge decision.
We were also in a, talking over Discord, us 3 and one other guy. We were having our chat group.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were social. So Alan was in our.
Casey was the other one.
Yeah, Casey was in there. Alan was in there talking with us. So, sorry about that. Al, we're still friends. So, anyways, congrats to everybody that ended up cashing in there and making money in the ring game. Thank you to everybody who came out and played with us. We'll have another one in 2 weeks. I hope that we can get it going bigger each time. And we'll go ahead and give little special prizes to those who end up winning these things. Like I said, I was gonna give a special tag within Discord to whoever won it, but
Max is gonna give himself a special prize.
we'll just let that one sit until someone comes and dethrones me. All right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Today's episode is going to be a fun and important one. So I think this is a strategy that a lot of people don't know how to utilize very well. They know the importance of it, but I don't think they really know how to use it or to what's the word I'm looking for? To implement. Thank you. That was it. And that's check raising from the big blind post flop.
Yeah.
I know that I've learned a lot over the past couple of years, and especially chatting with you about it. Probably learned a lot of it from you. So let's go ahead and get into some situations, some hypothetical situations, and discuss when and when it's not a good time to check raise from the big blind. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, Wes. What's the first hand we're going to look at here?
Yeah, so let's just say we're in a spot where we're 100 big blinds deep.
Okay.
So we could kind of view this as early as a tournament, or it could be a cash game. Either way, so let's just say we defended the big blind against someone in late position.
Yes.
And the flop comes ace jack 3 rainbow.
Okay.
We check. We face a bet of 1/3 pot. So let's say the pot was 6.5 bigs. We face a bet of 2.2 big blinds.
It's ace jack 3.
Yep, ace jack 3 rainbow. Let's hear your thoughts. Do you think we're going to do much check raising? And if we do at all, what hands are we going to do it with?
So I do think I would do some check raising here with against a late position open. Maybe not so much on this type of board versus an early position open where their ranges are going to be a little bit tighter. They're going to have more ace. They're going to have just more stronger hands from the early position. So we're talking about hands that I would personally check raise. Mm-hmm. So we'll say the opponent opened what, button or cutoff?
Yeah, I'm thinking cutoff.
Yeah, cutoff. I would say hands that I would check raise that are for value. I'd probably 3-bet ace jack a lot from the big blind, so I don't have that in my range. Sometimes I'd flat it, don't get me wrong. But ace jack, if I didn't 3-bet, I would check raise that hand like that. Mm-hmm. Just because we're so deep and I'm trying to build a pot at this point. You know what I mean? With my big value hands. Ace 3, obviously, which is, top 2 and then top and bottom pair. And then some hands that are not valid. Oh, pocket 3s. Yep. I will never have pocket jacks or aces here because I'd 3-bet both of those for sure.
Yep.
Hands that I would be interested in check raising here are like the gutter varieties, like King 10, King 10-0, maybe something like that.
Okay.
And maybe not King Queen because I'll probably just call it that because sometimes I just have the best hand.
Yeah.
And then other hands, maybe like 4-5, just that have the wheel draw and stuff like that I don't mind, if they end up re-raising or something. I just let these hands go and not feel pain about it, but I also give myself more opportunity of winning the pot by check raising these hands.
Yeah. So I think I like all of it. I might just call with like the King 10.
Okay.
The high gutters, the ones that have a little showdown, I might just call with. But yeah, the 5-4s, the 5 deuce suited, 4 deuce suited type thing. I like check raising those because that you literally know you're behind with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And your opponent most opponents know that this is a great board to c-bet with anything. So like the 9-7 suited, 8-7 and 7-6, 10-8, Queen 9 suited, all that sort of stuff is going to c-bet and just have to fold right away to the check raise.
Okay. Let me ask you a question pertaining to what kind of game we're playing. So are you changing your check raising strategy between a cash game and a tournament?
Not a lot if we're assuming it's early in a tournament.
Okay.
I know, as Ryan LaPlante actually discussed, ICM starts right away in a tournament.
Yeah.
But in early stages, it's not a big factor. And so I would not change it that much at this stage. I think if we are in a high ICM pressure spot, we will change it a little bit depending on who has the bigger stack. And also it'll change the sizing. Like if there's a lot of ICM in a certain situation, we can just check raise smaller in general because it's going to have a smaller bet is going to put the same pressure on them.
The same pressure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So are we, I guess another follow-up question to that is, are we going to be check raising more in the early stages of a tournament compared to a later stages of a tournament or vice versa? I have an opinion on this. I'm just curious where you stand. Or is it going to be even?
Yeah, I don't really differentiate between the two. I think in practice there will be more of it in early stages, but that's not to say you should do it strategically. It's just later stages of a tournament there will be less spots to do it because there will be more just pre-flop play that will determine.
Well, you're nearly as deep. Typically, you're 20 or 30 blinds, et cetera. So it's really hard to get check raises and stuff in there.
Yeah.
Well, let's take the same scenario where the flop is ace jack 3, and our opponent's still cut off, and we're still big blind. We're both 30 bigs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 30 bigs.
Yeah. So obviously let's make it even. Okay, 30 bigs is good. Are we going to maintain the same strategy? Are we still wanting to check raise these types of hands, or are we more incentivized to check raise these hands?
Yeah, I mean, so 30 blinds is interesting. I would say if we're at this point, there are more value hands we can check raise because they're now. Where are we in terms of ICM in this situation?
Let's just say ICM isn't a factor here.
Yeah. So the reason there's going to be more hands to check raise at this stack depth, at least from what I would be doing, is because there are more hands that you're willing to get 30 big blinds in that you aren't willing to get 100 big blinds in. So let's say you have ace 10 against late position. You check raise, at this point, a good opponent is going to call you with a jack, is going to call you with any ace. And even though, yes, you should be worried about the bigger aces, your ace 10 is actually ahead of most ace X here.
Yeah. And then ahead of all the semi bluffs.
Yep. And so, yeah, there are hands like a lot of ace X type stuff that I would do more check raising. If we're 18 big blinds deep and we have, sometimes if we have 18 bigs, we're going to 3-bet jam a lot of aces versus a late position raise. But if we didn't, we definitely want to check raise when we hit the ace here to just get, pure value bet.
So say we're 30 bigs deep versus a cutoff open. We have ace 10 in the big blind. The flop comes ace jack 3. We're wanting to check raise, get it in. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. At what depth do you think that starts to change? Because I feel like 30 is not far from the threshold.
Yeah,
maybe like
30
between
is
35
around
and 40.
Yeah, you're probably spot on. Like in the 20s, we definitely want to get it in unless there's high ICM pressure. But we said there's not.
Yeah. So okay, all right. So yeah, we know the threshold. Okay, so say we're now nearing ICM, or not nearing ICM, nearing the bubble. So ICM is in play. What are we want to tread a little bit more carefully here?
Yeah, and I don't even know if this is what theory says to do, but this is kind of what my thought process would be. So let's say we're near the bubble and we're in this spot with ace 10. Let's say our opponent has us covered. Well, I don't really want to check raise because our opponent's going to be incentivized to bluff us more. And so this is one of the hands we can call.
Because they want to apply that ICM pressure.
Yeah. So this is one of the hands that we could trap, essentially. And obviously we'll be beat sometimes.
So we're changing it with ICM from check raise, get it in as value to essentially check with it and just let him, because our opponent's going to be applying more pressure due to nearing the bubble. So we might as well just plan on calling down with a hand like this.
Yeah, and vice versa. Let's say we have them covered. I might even do the same thing here because they might not want, I'm more likely to try and get it in, like check raise if we have them covered because it could look like we're bluffing.
Yeah.
But I also want to give them a little bit of, allow them to think my hand is weaker too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But I'm definitely, when we have them covered, I'm more likely to play a check raise similar to what I would usually do.
Okay.
And it, I guess I'm thinking about more of a opponent we might get in one of the live tournaments we're playing. I think against a perfectly GTO opponent. I'm not saying this in terms of playing against a perfectly GTO opponent.
Okay.
So,
which is most of the people we play against.
Yeah, including ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a step back here for a moment. You had asked me what hands you thought. So we're back to 100 big blinds each on the same board.
Okay, 100 big blinds.
I want your opinion now. Since you got my opinion on hands you would check raise, how much are you on the same path as me? Are you going to be wider in your check raises this deep? I feel like something like ace 10 that we were giving an example of.
I feel like ace 10 is kind of
you don't want to bloat a pot with that hand necessarily. With that,
yeah, I actually think you can, but I think it's sort of the threshold. Like if you have a strong ace, you didn't 3-bet. That's kind of the threshold of check raising for value. I also just think on this board you don't want to check raise a ton because it's going to favor the range of your opponent. But I would say, there's some spots where you can.
So yes, it will, hit your opponent's range more, but make it if they know that and you're check raising on it still, doesn't that give you a little bit more of like, oh, like I should be stronger due to that?
Yeah, but it almost doesn't even matter. So think of it like this. Like let's say you raised, let's take a pre-flop spot as an example. if you raise under the gun with, queen 4 suited, which is too weak of a hand.
That's about right in my range.
But you're like, oh, but it looks stronger because
You're under the gun.
yeah, it's under the gun. It's still going to lose you money. Like if they just play their range correctly, it will result in you losing money,
Okay.
And the same sort of thing applies here. Like if you just check raise a ton, they could you could get some folds that you wouldn't have gotten, but like overall, if they just play correctly, it will result in them winning money off you.
My follow-up question to this now is, are you changing what hands you're check raising from the big blind here on this board from a cutoff open? If instead of cutoff opening, if under the gun opens or an early position opens, are you still maintaining the same range of hands you're check raising?
I would definitely, in this specific situation, it'll actually be kind of close, but I wouldn't check raise any of the one pair aces.
Yeah.
I would just purely,
Because you're just going to end up value owning yourself too frequently, probably.
yeah, I would purely, for value, it'd be like 2 pair plus. I against under the gun, I might flat pocket jacks. I probably would flat pocket jacks 100 big blinds deep.
Yeah, we've talked about this in past episodes, I think, yeah. Especially, you just kind of have to give respect to those early position opens. Don't get me wrong, you can 3-bet these hands if you have specific information on your opponent. Say your opponent's extremely loose aggressive, is V-pipping almost every hand, et cetera, et cetera. You can then start adjusting your 3-betting range from the big blind. But to someone you have no information on, definitely.
Yeah, if you're 25 big blinds deep, just get it in with jacks.
I guess we're not talking about 3-bet ranges pre here.
We're not.
Yeah, so tangent there. But all right, well, that sounds good. I feel like, should we try and find a little bit more of let's go over another example on a more dynamic board.
Okay. So let's talk about, so there's 2 other examples I have. The next one I'm going to say like Jack 7-3 with the 7-3 of hearts. Jack of clubs, 7 of hearts, 3 of hearts.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a little bit more dynamic. So there's a ton of combinations of straights, of straight draws.
Yeah.
A ton of combinations of 2 pairs so we'll get into it without me going ahead and listing all this stuff here. What is our opponent opening from, or where?
We'll just say hijack.
Hijack. So that's considered later position. And we're defending the big blind.
Yep.
Jack of clubs, 7 of hearts, 3 of hearts. You know what? I went first last time. Let's hear what hands you're going to be check raising from the big blind here, and then let's assume I'll set the whatever. I can't even think today. Jeez. But I'm going to set the rules here.
The parameters.
The parameters.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my God. Time to get to a nursing home. Dementia's
Hey,
kicking.
if you know it, that means you still got time.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just planning on Neuralink, the Neuralink implants.
Shut up.
So let's make it a little bit more interesting. We're 40 bigs deep.
Okay.
So we're kind of threshold lines of, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Hijack opens. We're in the big blind. Jack 7-3 2 hearts. What hands are you check raising? 40 big blinds.
Okay. So what's the bet size we're facing?
So let's say that they opened 2 bigs. We defend.
All right, so 5.5 bigs in the pot.
5.5 bigs. They bet 1.8. Or just say 2 bigs just to make it easy.
Actually, I like 1.8 because that's like a third. I
Yeah.
feel like that's something you'll just see a lot.
Yeah. Online. Jinx. 1.8.
So, and we're saying we're playing for chip EV here.
Yes.
Okay. I would raise like,
We have no information on our opponent at this point, we'll just say.
yeah, I will go with like King Jack plus for value.
King Jack plus. Okay, remember the Jack 7-4 2 heart flop. So
Jack 7-3.
our Jack 7-3. We're going to check raise. King Jack is the bottom of our value.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly. And I think so. The obvious ones would be just like combo draws. So hearts with a gutter. Those ones you can check raise and be comfortable getting in.
Like 5-6 of hearts or something.
Yeah. Now, obviously, that's not
4-6 of hearts. Yeah.
Yeah, 10-8 of hearts, etc. So that's not a ton of combos. But then there's stuff like, so for example, the other day I was playing and I think I raised I think it was a Jack 7-3 rainbow flop,
Yeah.
but there was one club and I had 8-4 clubs.
That's like the quintessential dry flop.
Yeah. And so I check raised 8-4 of clubs and
That's just pure air.
couple back doors.
Yeah.
But
Pretty dog.
yeah, I think, there's going to be spots where you can just check raise and get like the king, queen, king 10 type stuff to fold.
The hands that beat you but are still air.
Yep. And so I would say I would make some check raises out of a hand like clubs with either a gutter or just like 8-6 of clubs, some back doors.
So something that, because we said the jack was of a club. So let's talk about back hands that we would check raise that are specifically backdoor hands, just to keep things organized here. Mm-hmm. What backdoor hands are you going to? So obviously we know the gutter with the backdoor flush.
Yeah.
I mean, what about gutters without backdoor flushes? We're just saying it.
Yeah. I think it's fine to do that too. And actually, one thing I was going to say,
we're just going to have a little bit more equity with that backdoor flush draw.
Yeah, and actually, I was going to say one thing. Sometimes I'll check raise just like a pure bottom pair here.
I was just going to ask you about that next.
Yeah, you can kind of go both ways with that. One thing to keep in mind is when you have a hand like bottom pair, it's actually a little bit better, I think, and I could be wrong in some situations, but it's better to check raise sometimes when you don't have the backdoor flush draw because it's like you benefit more from just taking it down now.
Okay.
Even though you have a hand that has showdown. Whereas like obviously if we have like 8-6 of spades, we're just folding. But if we have 8-6 of clubs, it's like
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's what, an extra 2% equity or 4% equity or something. Yeah, 4% equity.
Yeah.
But it lights me up inside.
Yeah. Well, because then if you see that club on the turn, you're like, oh, we get to keep going.
Not only does it give me just 4% equity, but it gives me that extra fold equity when I can double barrel now because I turned a flush draw. You know what I'm saying? So I check raise with the 8-6 of clubs, and then we turn the deuce of clubs or something like that. Well, I'm more incentivized to continue my bluff, which is going to get them to fold more frequently now instead of just trying to get, or checking back or something like that. Yeah. So it's not just the 4%. It's more of it gives me more confidence in betting again.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's also important, not that we're getting into the turn strategy as much here, but maybe later, in a later episode, we can do how to play the turn after you check raise the flop.
That's a good one.
That's a good idea.
I like that.
So...
Because that's hard. Because all people are like, "Oh, I check raised, and now I'm at the turn, and they called. What do I do?"
Yeah. Okay. So let's say, I think that's one thing that takes away from people's likelihood to check raise 8-6 of clubs here or a gut, 5-4 type thing. Because it's like check raise. Oh, I get called, and the queen of spades comes on the turn. And the truth is, like, sometimes you just have to give up.
Yeah. And if you're not sometimes giving up, you're going to be punting too frequently.
Yeah. Yeah, like, when you check raise clubs and you pick up no equity on the turn, you can just be done.
So that's kind of our line of what decides if we're going to continue or not.
Yeah.
I guess that mixed in with some information that we have on our opponents. Are they, do we think that, they're calling with... like 7-8 here or something like that, where we can get them to fold a 7 if the queen of clubs comes on the turn, etc.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the way I think about it a lot of times is, so for example, actually last night I was playing against, I was heads up in this tournament that I won.
Oh, congrats on the way. This guy shipped a 109 on ACR last night for almost 10K, so that's sick.
Yeah, it felt great. So when I was playing the guy heads up, I could tell he was a bit of a nit. Like, he folded to almost every 3-bet. And we could actually watch the final table stream after.
Okay.
I saw he folded top pair on the turn one time. Like, so
when he was showing aggression, obviously.
Yeah, when I was showing aggression.
Oh, okay. You folded top pair when you were showing aggression?
He folded top pair.
Oh, he folded top pair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I didn't know this during the game, but I could tell he was probably over folding. So, like, I took I defended Jack 4 offsuit in the big blind. Flop was 10, 3 deuce, 2 spades, 1 heart, and I had
Jack of spades in your hand.
Jack of hearts, 4 spades. And
Oh.
I check raised small, and I looked back, and he folded ace jack with the Jack of spades. And so it's like,
my gosh.
so
You're just exploiting him at that point.
yeah.
So let's talk about this then without going too far off. When are we check raising as an exploit compared to theoretically?
Yeah. So
Like, are we focusing on boards or are we focusing on opponents or both?
a little of both, because I think you want to be able to tell a credible story.
I agree with that. I feel like sometimes,
To be fair, like the 10-3 deuce board, like I shouldn't really have a lot of good stuff.
yeah, and but so that's why I kind of agrees with my point here is that I think we need to focus more, on our opponent than specifically on what hands tell a credible story. Because oftentimes some of these people that we're doing it against don't even know what makes a good story.
Yeah. I guess let me put it this way. I still did it with the heart and spade because I'm like, oh, I block more.
You did it
hands
with
I
this
can.
heart, the one in your
Yeah.
chest.
I did. It was with that too, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think unless you have someone who you know is way over folding, you should at least have a little bit of something going on with your hand. Like,
Okay.
so the Jack 7-3 board, that's where it's like the 8-6 of clubs type hand. Like you could check raise quite small. So we said it was a bet of 1.8. You could check raise to like
4.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say 4.8, but
Okay.
yeah, you could check raise really small if you think your opponent is over folding, because then they're just gonna like fold a lot of the overcard stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
And in theory, your opponent should probably float you with like, if they have 2 overcards with a heart.
With a backdoor draw of some sort. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they still have a ton of equity, right? Against one pair hands.
Yeah, or like a 10-9 of clubs.
sometimes- Yeah.
But if you think you're going to get them off that stuff, go ahead and check raise the 5-4. Heck, maybe even like deuce 4 of clubs or something.
Okay. So we kind of just need to be paying attention to what our opponents have been doing thus far and decide on if they're sticky. It might be dangerous to check raise unless we plan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So now let's.
Don't give me that smirk.
I'm
You
like,
looked at me like I'm the sticky.
yeah. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Before you
against
hold your thought,
Yeah.
I just want to ask a question regarding flush draws. Up to how many big blinds should we be check jamming a flush draw? And does that differentiate between ace high flush draws and say 10 high flush draws or even a 8 high flush draw or something?
So you're saying just facing the flop bet. When do we go all in?
Yeah,
Like,
what big blind amount should we be just check jamming? And does that change between what kind of flush draws we have?
Yeah, I would say if your check raise size that you're thinking about making, if that's for more than like 30% of your stack, just go all in. Like
Just do it,
It
yeah.
doesn't, a check raise to like 40% of your stack on the flop is kind of like, well,
And then they jam and then you're supposed to fold? Like,
yeah, like you're never folding. Like you should just never put that amount of your stack in with an intent to fold unless it's on the river.
Right, yeah. Unless it's on the river, right?
Because then
your equity
you could have 0 equity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So, yeah, I would say in this case, facing 1.8, if we have like under 15 big blinds, I would for sure, my check raises would just be all ins.
Flushes.
Well, I'm saying anytime I check raise, it would just be an all in.
Okay, yeah. Okay, for whatever we're check raising.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
And
I'd agree with that. 15 is just like, yeah, I mean, what do you...
Because what are we going to do? Put in 5 big blinds, leave ourselves 9 or 10.
We're getting really meta here. Like,
Yeah. So,
and then fold. That's like some Phil Hellmuth shit.
yeah. Now I will say if there's severe ICM, you could
Do stuff like that.
you could think about it, but as a general rule, and I would say this is a general rule for pre-flop, flop, and turn. If you're making an aggressive action where you put in over like a third of your remaining stack, it's almost always best to just go all in.
Right. Yeah. You give yourself more fold equity. They might fold a wider range of hands due to it, et cetera. And then you get to also realize your equity.
You do, and it's not like it's just the idea that if you put in that much to your stack, if they go all in, you pretty much should be calling anyways.
Well, this kind of answers my question of what kind of sizing should we use. So, essentially, say we have so it's Jack of Clubs, 7 of Hearts, 3 of Hearts, right? Say we have Ace 5 of Hearts and 25 big blinds.
Okay.
I feel like this is kind of, again, to the threshold where we can start not doing all-in check raises.
So I would definitely not go all in with anything here. If we had Ace 5 of Hearts, I would say... So here's what I would think about is, do we want to plan on jamming the turn, or are we planning on making this like a 3-street bluff type
So
thing?
that's the thoughts we should have, is what are we, continuing... Jeez. Thinking later, thinking ahead of what's going to happen. So say I brick this, I'm setting a size that's going to set up a 1-to-1 stack to pot ratio. Am I just going to be jamming all turns?
Yeah, so I wouldn't even say like 1-to-1 is necessarily...
I'm not saying, that's just an example.
Yeah, so
Right,
I would
right.
say like you could take this
You could
and
also
just go like
yeah.
7 big blinds, and then if you get called, you jam a lot of turns. Like
over pot jam.
It would at that point it would be a little under pot if it was 14 plus 5.5. So the pot would be like 19.5 and we'd have 18. Just something where it's like you check raise big on the flop, and so if you're 25 big blinds deep, I might take this with like the check raise sizing, the big sizing, do that with value, probably like a strong jack and better.
Okay.
And then
go
the
ahead.
draws that you're willing to get in.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then maybe now, and this is not necessarily backed up by theory always, but if you have a super strong hand like Jack 7 or pocket 3s, maybe check raise small and then go for 3 streets, kind of more milky, and then balance that out with some check raise bluffs that you're willing to get away from.
I know this is kind of going against balancing, but when say we're now 100 bigs deep on the same exact board compared to 40, and we have a set of 3s or a set of 7s from the big blind and we're check raising, do we just, I guess this might depend on how sticky we think our opponent is, but can we just, instead of going small for 3 streets, can we just go big so we can try and get it all in by the river? Because imagine we just make it 1.8 and then, there's 15 bigs on the turn, then we bet 13 to 18 or something like that. It still makes it difficult to get an all in by the river.
Yeah.
So something we should be thinking about, especially when deep, for our check raise sizing is this a hand I'm willing to, especially for our value, thinking about setting up the SPR?
Yeah, and as someone who plays a decent amount of online cash, this is something I'm thinking about a ton when I'm like 100 big lines deep, is if I'm going to check raise this flop, what sizing am I using so that it's not awkward to get it all in? And so
later on, yeah.
Yeah, so let's say, they bet 1.8 into 5.5. Maybe our check raise sizing should be something like, so
7.5? Oh,
9.
Bigger. Okay.
Yeah. So think about it like this. So if we were to call the 1.8, that would make the pot 9.1.
Yeah.
So if we make it an additional, 7.2, that would make it a total of 9.
Yeah.
The 7.2 represents like 80% pot. So it's only an 80% pot raise. So it's not even like huge.
But it allows you to make a bigger turn bet and then a bigger river bet.
Yeah. So if we do that and they call, the pot is now 23.5 and we're going to have like 90 big blinds. So then we can go, if we bet full pot on the turn, that's 23 bigs into 23. Pot is now 69 bigs.
You set this pot size up, didn't you? We're talking about setting up pot sizes, my man.
I just realized in the middle, I'm like, wow, Wes.
Giggity.
So and then you do that and you leave yourself with 67, 68 bigs.
Boom.
And it's like a pot sized river bet.
Yeah. Whenever I successfully make that happen, I'm just like, let's go. Like, I love that. It's like I feel like I played it so well.
Yeah.
You know.
And there are, we're not going to get too into theory of what boards,
set up
when
as-
you should, because sometimes you should check raise small on the flop, but then you can do some over betting on the turn or some small betting. There are a ton of different routes you can go, but in general, like as a general rule, when you're super deep, you're 100 big blinds deep. Let's say you flop bottom set on like a Jack 7-3 flush draw board. Yeah, you should definitely think about, I want to get all the money in, assuming this board runs out pretty well. How am I going to do that? Because, if you check raise to 5 big blinds on the flop, your opponent's going to, your 23 big blind bet on the turn is going to be a big over bet, and your opponent's going to be like, oh, man.
Yeah.
But if you check raise a little bigger on the flop, to be fair, they should fold out more hands, but maybe they won't.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, if they have like a top pair, they should call. Now when they face that big bet on the turn, it's like, it's a pot size bet. There's not like a... It still makes sense. It's not like a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a little less scary to the opponent, you think?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
as it should be. Like,
Yeah.
if there's more money in the pot, you should be more incentivized to call.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. Well, yeah, that all makes sense. I think... do you have any last topics you want to touch on that specific hand, or should we move to the third?
Move on to another board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. So the next...
Yeah, I said hand. Another board, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So the last one, let's say it's a board like 6-5-3.
Ooh. And under the gun opens.
Hey, we could do that, yeah. So we're in the big blind. We'll just say it's rainbow. The purpose of looking at this board is more the fact that it's low cards.
Yeah, yeah. And so we should maybe attack this one from opening position being early, maybe middle, late.
Yeah, let's
Just kind of go over all of that. So what was the full board again? Remind me.
6-5-3.
6-5-3 rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As the big blind, and I know we've kind of discussed this in the past episodes.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Continue though.
I might not check raise. I might just lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this board obviously, again, so 6-5-3. Like if it was like 6-5 deuce, I probably wouldn't consider it.
I think we can have at least 3-4
or like
suited.
7-5 deuce or something. I guess I should say.
Yes, I agree with
So
the
like
7-5
the
deuce.
split and then the double split there. But yeah, like 6-5-3 from the big blind is going to be scary to even an under the gun open. Even said that, say our opponent has pocket aces, they open under the gun, and we lead here. They have no idea where they're at in the hand.
Yeah,
They're bluff catching at this point.
yeah. I mean, I would say not.
Okay.
Yeah, like
You know what I'm saying, the basis of it.
But they know that we can have all the straights and they don't.
Yeah.
So they know that they can't. If we're 15 bigs deep, yeah, they can get it in. But if we're 100 big blinds deep, they shouldn't want to get in 100 big blinds with aces.
Okay,
here.
well, let's talk about hands we might lead here. Actually, no. Let's not talk about hands.
Yeah,
we
we're
might
talking
lead.
about check raising.
Sheesh. I do want to talk about that because it's fun, right? That's interesting.
We'll have another episode on it.
When to lead as the big blind, just like a 10-minute episode.
Yeah. When you hate your opponent.
Yeah.
When you want to glare at them.
when it's Max in the big blind and Wes opening from any position, that's when we lead.
Yeah. I feel like you would just flick out one big blind
Yep.
and kind of grin at me.
And then 3-bet when you raise it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about hands we would check raise here. So obviously we can have all sets, pocket sixes, pocket fives, pocket threes. We can have all. What about 4-7 off? I mean, are we defending that ton of thing? We might just
Probably fold that.
yeah,
but we can have
4-7 suited for sure.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe for the purpose of this, let's make it 7-4-3. Because I think for the purpose of this board, we want to be able to have all the straights just to figure out how to play it.
Yeah, because we might not be able to have 4-7 on that one.
Yeah, but we can have all of the 5-6 offsuit as well.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. And then we can also have pocket sevens, pocket fours, pocket fives. So hands I'm going to check raise with on this board. My sets.
Sets and straights.
Sets and straights.
2-pair.
Especially when we're 100 bigs deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so definitely I'm going to be check raising a lot of hands probably on this board. More than, a lot of other boards. So all my sets, my 2 pairs, my straights, and then let's see, it's 4-5-7
7-4-3.
7-4-3. Okay.
Yeah.
We
I know I
changed
kind of changed it up.
7-4-3. What do we do with like A6 with a backdoor flush draw here?
I would just call it.
Yeah. And then evaluate turns.
Yeah, because I think we're still in a spot where ace high can be good sometimes. Okay. I would be
What about 10-6 suited?
Yeah, like I was gonna say 8-6, 9-6, 10-6 suited, or
those hands with
whether
not a lot of
5 or a
showdown
6.
value. Okay, so compared to the A6 suited where we can sometimes have the best hand, the hands that we probably want to check raise here because we can get better hands to fold is going to be 8-6, 9-6, 10-6 of the suited combinations, maybe even 8-6 off if you're in there with that. Probably I would be.
Yeah, you can kind of go either way. I think in general, so this is a board that your opponent should theoretically check back a lot.
Yeah, even with pocket aces, like theoretically.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. But I will say, I think there's a tendency to just, when in doubt, c-bet in a lot of these spots. So I think a lot of the opponents we're going to run into, even if they're not necessarily overly aggressive in most spots, they might be over c-betting, or at least when they c-bet this flop, they might overfold to a check raise. So, for example, like ace high with, ace 10 suited with a backdoor draw, they might c-bet, but then we might be able to get them off it by check raising. Or, they might just c-bet too many like ace high type things, and we might be able to get them off it with a check raise. So I'm going to lean more towards check raising a lot of the gutter or straight draw type stuff. And even though it can seem like not the best play, I'll even do that with like a lot of my one pair hands. Not because I'm really hoping to get called, but because let's say we have, I don't know, 8-4 suited middle pair.
Yeah.
If we think they have a lot of hands that are overcards, they still have roughly 25% equity against us. And we're out of position. Like if we just call, we're allowing them to see the turn, but then they might check back the turn. We might be allowing them to see 2 free cards.
Okay.
And if we just check call with the 8-4, we might, a lot of times I'm going to be calling a turn bet too. So by check raising, I don't think we're not like losing extra necessarily against the hands we're beating, but we're going to be denying equity to a lot of the overcards. Yeah. And I think it's good to, I think sometimes we talk about how, you shouldn't just like raise to get them off a worse hand.
Yeah, that's not a great reason to be betting.
Yeah, and that is true. But there is, when you have a 75% to 25%, when you're an equity favorite like that, when you shut out that 25% for a relatively cheap price.
Yeah, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, it is a slam dunk. Yeah. And you're, obviously if they have like an overpair, it's not a good result when you check raise and they call. But then you still have some cards you can continue.
I feel like this is where really good players shine, though. They're able to get these, somewhat decent equities, 25% type equity hands to not get to showdown because they know where they're at. So they're not getting as unlucky, bunny ear quotes, as frequently.
Yeah.
So they're avoiding showdown a little bit easier.
Yeah. And so I think this is where we can talk about theory and exploitative play kind of in one, because I haven't looked this flop up on a solver, but my impression is a lot of the one pair hands out of the big blind when you face a bet, a lot of them are going to mix between calling and check raising, and it's going to be the same EV for either one. So the way you exploit is you say, hey, okay, I think these two decisions in theory are pretty damn close to each other.
Yep.
If I think my opponent is just c-betting everything, let's just check raise all of these.
Yeah.
Even though I'm going to be super unbalanced, I'm going to always check raise against them because I know they have so many weak hands in their range when they c-bet. On the flip side, let's say our opponent is only c-betting when they have an overpair. Well, now we're never check raising with one pair. Now we're deciding, are we getting the right price to call? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just always call. So that's one way to exploit, is when you know that if you have a solver that gives you two options that are pretty much the same EV, you can, instead of mixing or balancing, you can just always do one of them or always do the other based on what you think about your opponent.
Can we take a left turn?
How about a right turn?
All right, whatever.
Okay.
We're turning.
Yeah.
How does check raising change in a multi-way spot?
Ooh, okay. That's pretty tricky. So give me a specific example. Like,
say it's 3-4-7.
Yep.
Under the gun opened and cut off flatted.
Okay.
And we're in the big blind.
And now under the gun, C bets the
Under
flop.
the gun, C bets the flop.
My instinct.
Are we going to reduce our check raises?
Yes.
And what if cutoff folds, and then it gets to heads up? But we'll assume.
Yeah. Actually, so here's what I would say. Actually, is in that specific situation, I would reduce my check raises, because then it's sort of the same spot, except our opponent should be c betting less, and I think to an extent most people will kind of treat it that way. Like,
okay.
I don't know exactly what people's c betting frequency is going to be there, but I think most people, recreational or pro, are going to be now just like checking a ton of their ace high.
Okay.
So when they bet, I think, they might c bet bluff some weaker hands, but it's going to be a lot of stronger stuff. So I'm going to be thinking more just check call, and then I'm going to check raise, especially with these one pair type hands, I should say. I'm going to check raise the super strong stuff a lot still, and I'll still mix in some of those bluff hands.
Okay.
But I will be, with those one pair hands, I'm going to do a lot more just calling.
Okay. All right.
What do you think?
I'm kind of on the same page. I'm more of the pot control type anyways. I think this kind of can hurt me in specific scenarios.
When we're not doing clubs poker meetup games.
Yeah, exactly. When I'm actually trying. So I won that tournament without trying.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you just slipped that in there.
I think I'm just a lot more cautious in multi-way spots, just because I'm not as confident in them as well. Not only am I not, it's not just not as confident, it's just a lot more challenging. There's situations, it becomes a lot more dynamic. You have to be a lot more careful. I find, if I find myself check raising these scenarios where there's a third person in the pot, and I somehow don't get it to heads up, and we get scary cards, then all of a sudden we have a bigger pot, and I don't know where I'm at, and I don't know. I just tend to play it a little bit more careful. So if I'm check raising you and there's more than just you and me in the pot, just fold because I have it.
Okay.
Let's see if I can exploit that somehow. Just, planting seeds here and there.
You're just going to have a stupid grin on your face when you do it.
I know. But yeah, honestly, I don't have a good answer for it. Multi-way is tough. That's my answer.
Yeah, multi-way is tough. And then there's the instance of, let's say, under the gun C bets in the spot and the cutoff calls.
Yeah.
Then it's like, it's tough to check raise.
I find that, like, say we have a flush draw in the big blind here, and under the gun C bets, and
so to be clear, let's say it's not a rainbow flop, but 7-3-4 with two spades.
Two spades. We'll say 2 hearts, whatever. And I have whatever flush draw. Nuts to not, like, it doesn't matter what flush draw I have here. I'm often just going to try and call and realize equity.
Yeah. So now here's a question. Apart from hands like 2 pair sets and straights, is there anything else you should check raise? And then if all you can think of to check raise,
so any non-values?
Yeah. It is tough.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like the bottom pairs with a straight draw.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, like
you have
3-5 of hearts or something, or a 3-5 offsuit, whatever. 3-5 would be a good one, maybe. it was 3-4-7, right? Yeah, like 4-6, things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, not multi-way though, probably.
Yeah, like it is possible. You know, maybe I guess the thing is you're not expecting a lot of hands to fold to you that are beating
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an equity. It's kind of an equity denial bet in a sense, but yeah, we're talking heads up here now, right?
I was still talking the multi-way.
Oh, you were
the bet and call.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I have a lot that aren't value.
Yeah,
that's kind of my answer, I guess.
Yeah, which is obviously exploitable, but it's also like kind of a practical. If we're talking about 100 big blinds deep.
Yeah, but does that situation come up enough to where someone who's hearing this is going to be able to exploit? I mean, maybe one time. Let's be real. And to be fair, I get exploited probably all the time that I'm not aware of.
Well, and honestly, I think this goes back.
I exploited you last night.
I think I just made. I almost. Anyways,
I knew that you thought I was a punter, so I overbet jammed. And
I was gonna call quickly, then you
I
made
that stupid comment. Well, I lost a pot in the stupid ring game that I made the comment about. Anyways, no one even knows what we're talking about.
It still worked.
Yeah. It still worked. That's right, it did.
You piece of shit. Okay, so yeah, and what I was gonna say is, you know, we're not necessarily talking about theory here, but we recently talked about early stages of tournaments and exploits, and we kind of lean towards like just bluff a little less.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about 100 big blinds deep in a tournament, it's kind of implied that it's an early stage in the tournament. So I think your strategy, and it's realistically, that's kind of my strategy too. There are some spots where I'll be bluffing, but like there's going to be a lot of just building pots with value.
Yeah. And truthfully, a lot of these people end up leveling themselves. They really, you know what I mean? Like they might not know, they don't know if I'm balanced or not. Like they might see something and be like, oh, he's not balanced. But truthfully, then I will balance it and they'll still think I'm not. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah. And
that wasn't very convincing.
Yeah. I can't decide. Well, anyways, yeah. I can't decide if you said the same thing or two different things there.
I don't know what I said anymore either. I guess my answer to that is poker's hard.
It is, yeah. Yeah, multi-way spots are tough too. Like there's not I think there is some sort of tool that you can look at those with, but when you don't have like a baseline strategy for it, like a baseline theory strategy, it's tougher to figure out how to maneuver around.
Okay, well let's end the check raising strategy on how can people practice check raising or study check raising. What's a good way for them to get better at it besides listening to this episode?
Honestly, just listen to this thing on repeat. No, so I would say the best thing you can do is do a little bit of work, whether it's in a solver tool or take some looks at a solver tool and don't necessarily imitate it. Don't look at like 100 different flops. Look a little bit more at, take what we did and look at some low flops, some medium flops, high flops, some flush draw, some monotone flush draw, some rainbow, and just like focus less on specifically what you should be doing with every hand, but just focus a little bit more on what hands can you do either one with.
Yeah.
What, let's say if you have the Jack 7-3 board, you have pocket threes, my guess is that's when you should just always check raise because it's such a strong hand and you don't block top pair at all.
Okay.
On the 7-4-3 board, all the hands that you can go both ways with, don't get into the game and think, oh, I need to make sure I'm balanced here. Take that information and be like, okay, I know I'm in a spot where either decision is kind of close theoretically. That's where you should go for full exploit, like figure out your opponent.
It's very well said. That's
and
very
go
well said.
100% in one direction or the other until they figure out what you're doing.
Yeah, and then you can start turning things around if they figure it out. Otherwise, you can keep pimping them.
Yeah, you really can.
Just throw the salami at them over and over. And they just got great, man. Well, this has been a very insightful episode. Is there anything you want to finish that part on before we give some congratulations?
Well, let's get to the congratulations. Then there are a couple more things we can mention at the end.
Cool. So I want to give a big shout out and congratulations to myself. I'm just kidding. To my good friend Dave Gagne, who just won MSPT Iowa Grand Falls and Larchwood there this weekend.
Yeah, congrats to Dave.
Yeah, he's been a good friend of mine for a decade. We met through poker. We've been grinding together for years. We traveled together for years, and it's really refreshing to see people who put the time in get the results that that reflect that. And Dave is,
and he's over $1 million in earnings now.
He cracked $1 million in earnings. He's just a stud, and I've looked up to him for years and years, and kind of learned a lot from him as well. And Dave, I know you do listen to the podcast, so if you're hearing this, congrats to you, man. I enjoyed sweating the entire final table. He literally ran the final table over. He ran, card distribution was in his favor heads up, which is always nice.
That always has to be.
But three ways, like he was just running him over. Whether he had it or not, Dave is an incredible exploitative player. He has a great GTO foundation, but he doesn't follow that. He goes with his gut almost all the time, and it seems to do him really well. So congrats to you, my friend. Nice 88K score or whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
And his second MSPT title.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I saw you snuck in one of the winners' photos.
Hey, I didn't even ask to. MSPT Jeremy, it was like, Max, get in there for a photo. And I was like, all right.
You have to. Hey, I mean, you got in a photo of mine last year.
Yeah, it's right. I'm in there with my homies. You know what I mean? There to support them. I do want to say it's a funny situation, though. I was so invested in the final table. Like, I was one of the only people sweating it besides, like, the tournament directors and some of the staff. I was, like, right there looking at every flop, like, thinking through each hand while Dave was playing.
That's fun.
It was fun. But Dave busted a guy, and I was – this is kind of embarrassing to announce this on the podcast. But Dave busted a guy three-handed, and I looked at the guy, and I was like, nice playing with you. I swear to God. That's I was like, I felt like I was playing.
That's hilarious.
After I said it, I was like, did I really just say that? Like, good game, bro.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's funny.
Dude, I was invested, man. It was a great time. So we had a lot of fun. We actually, Dave and I rolled out there together. We golfed and played poker, and it's just an incredible week and very fortunate. So thankful for that experience with him, and congrats again. What else do you have?
Yeah, just going to talk, remind everyone, get in Clubs Poker.
Yep.
Use our affiliate link.
If you want to support the podcast, make sure to sign up using that affiliate link. It's the only way we've been monetizing our podcast so far, and Clubs is a great place to play online. So
yeah, I've played a decent amount on there so far, and it's been fun.
Yeah, and then our meetup games are on there last night. I mean, me went heads up, got 1-2 somehow. Yeah. I promise there's no super using our RTA.
It was a super small field,
16
it's
players,
not that unlikely. But yeah, we're going to keep doing the meetup games. So the next one, at this point, we're doing every 2 weeks. The next one will be Tuesday, August 27th.
Yep. And put maybe another 55 buy-in? And
yeah, I think the tournament was good. I know we have a lot of listeners who are tournament players, and there's some more who didn't get in last night that wanted to. So we're going to keep doing that tournament. We'll keep having a ring game. We might move around the blinds on the ring game, maybe test out
like 1-2 or something.
Yeah,
play something a little bigger.
Yeah, like something like that.
My hope with this thing is that we grow these. It might turn from a meetup game to a home game. You know what I'm saying? So whereas we just have the same group of guys that's continuously growing, coming back every 2 weeks, the Suited King group, and eventually, hopefully, we get 50 to 100 players in this tournament. And secondly, we just hit 200 Discord members.
Did we? I saw we were at 199.
We cracked it last night.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining our Discords. That's so exciting. We just started the Discord. Just been promoting through this podcast, and just watching this community grow has been absolutely incredible. So very thankful for that. And And you can also chat with us while we're playing in the home games too in there. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's it.
All right. Yeah, I think that's all I got for today's episode. We will be back next Thursday as usual. We will, my goal here is to get some video form content out for you. I know we've been talking about it for quite some time. It is a lot of work and kind of going from the ground up here, but it is in the works. So we will look forward to getting that to you guys. And until then, make sure to join our Discord. You can find that on our pinned tweet at Suited Kings Pod. The pinned tweet again at Suited Kings Pod. You can join our Discord. There's a link there. Join Clubs Poker using our affiliate link. You can find that affiliate link in the description of this episode, on our Discord, on our Twitter, all of the above. Make sure to click that to support the podcast. We really appreciate that. Anything else I'm missing?
I think that's it.
Cool, man. All right, guys. Have a great morning, night,
There
evening,
it is. He's back.
sleep, breakfast, dinner,
Mid-afternoon.
nap.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
I
right.
think that covers it.
Bye, guys.